Ever felt that eerie sensation of not being alone? Of eyes on you, even in your own home? Imagine a hidden presence, a silent observer, privy to your every word, every secret. What if that presence was real? Meet Oliver, who awoke one fateful day to the hushed voices of strangers in his otherwise empty house. Who were these intruders, and what dark purpose had drawn them there? Prepare for a journey into the unknown, where the real terror lies not in what is seen, but in what remains hidden. You are listening to Midnight Narrative, and today's story is The Silent Observer. Let's start, shall we?
Oliver awoke to a sudden jolt. Disoriented by the abruptness of his rising, the room was bathed in the harsh mid-morning light, an unusual hour for him to stir from slumber. What startled him, however, was the cacophony of voices echoing through the house. 4 distinct voices filled the air, their chatter ringing ominously in his ears. He knew with certainty that he lived alone. Dread coiled within him as he questioned the presence of intruders. Panic took hold as he strained to decipher the muffled conversations and the sounds of doors opening and closing. Who were these uninvited guests? How had they gained entry? Why were they here? Oliver was paralyzed by fear, unsure of what actions to take as the voices continued to encroach upon his once silent domain. Oliver's heart raced as he grappled with the surreal and chilling reality unfolding around him. The minutes dragged on, each one heavier than the last. He listened helplessly to the voices and footsteps that persisted in their presence. He was frozen in place. Suddenly, he came back to his senses. He should hide. The intruders were probably there to harm him. He hid underneath the bed. The ominous silence from his hiding place amplified his sense of vulnerability. Oliver felt utterly trapped, uncertain of how to confront the enigma shrouding his home. As the footsteps drew nearer to his room, Oliver's terror intensified. He retreated to the deepest, darkest corner beneath the bed. The creaking of the door opening sent a shiver down his spine. He listened with bated breath as someone entered. From his concealed vantage point, he could see the stranger's legs as they moved about the room. Each second felt like an eternity as Oliver clung to the last vestiges of his courage, determined not to be discovered by these unwanted visitors. His heart pounded in his chest. The very air seemed to hold its breath, mirroring the stifling tension that gripped the room. The intruder continued their exploration, their presence casting a long and ominous shadow over Oliver's world, while he remained a hidden observer, praying that his hiding place would prove secure enough to keep him from their notice. The figure inside the room continued their conversation in an unfamiliar language, their words indecipherable to Oliver. He strained to listen, attempting to glean any semblance of understanding from their hushed dialogue. But the foreign tongue remained a baffling barrier. The fact that they were speaking in a language he couldn't comprehend heightened the unsettling nature of the intrusion. Moments later, the figure departed from the room. Their departure accompanied by a heavy sigh of relief from Oliver. The room, however, still seemed charged with an eerie energy, as though the very walls held the secrets of the mysterious visitors. Oliver remained hidden beneath the bed, his pulse slowly returning to normalcy, while the inexorable presence of the intruders continued to linger in his mind. Oliver's momentary relief gave way to renewed dread as the minutes ticked by. The intruders showed no signs of leaving the house. the haunting sound of footsteps once again drew closer to his room. But this time, the approaching individual seemed to hurry down the corridor with a frantic urgency. The door groaned open once more, and Oliver watched in silent terror as another figure entered the room. This newcomer was of a smaller stature compared to the previous intruder, casting an eerie shadow that danced across the walls. As the room filled with their presence, the atmosphere grew more oppressive. Oliver's heart raced faster than ever. The smaller figure moved about the room, adding a new layer of unease to Oliver's already mounting fear. His eyes remained fixed on their every move, his hiding place under the bed now feeling like the only fragile barrier between him and the enigmatic intruders. Oliver's breaths came in shallow gasps as he watched the figure move about the room, their actions both mesmerizing and terrifying. His heart pounded loudly in his chest as the figure suddenly halted right before the bed, mere inches from Oliver's hidden refuge. Every instinct urged him to remain concealed, but a spark of curiosity ignited within him. For a long, heart-pounding minute, nothing happened in the room. The intruder sat down on the edge of the bed, their presence casting a haunting shadow over Oliver. His fear warred with his burning desire to uncover the identities of these mysterious figures. He knew he had to remain hidden. Yet the insatiable need to understand their motives grew stronger with every passing second. With trembling hands and a heart filled with trepidation, Oliver made the fateful decision to inch out from under the bed and peek cautiously at the figure sitting on the edge, taking a dangerous step toward unraveling the chilling enigma that had gripped his home. Oliver summoned every ounce of courage. Slowly, he inched forward, coaxing his trembling limbs to cooperate as he slid out from under the bed. He hesitantly raised his head, peeking out from beneath the bed's concealing shadows to gaze upward. But, in a twist of cruel fate, just as he exposed himself to the room, the figure, sitting on the bed, abruptly turned its head and locked eyes with him. A gasp caught in Oliver's throat as terror flooded every fiber of his being. It was too late, the figure had seen him. The room crackled with an electric intensity as the truth hung in the air, leaving Oliver to confront the harrowing realization that he had unwittingly revealed himself to the intruder. Emily shrieked loudly. Her piercing scream shattered the room's eerie silence, echoing down the hallways as she fled in terror. Her parents, alerted by her terrified cries, rushed to her side, their faces etched with concern. They implored her to explain what had happened. Emily, still trembling and wide-eyed, recounted her harrowing encounter, her small voice quivering as she spoke of the monster lurking beneath the bed. "Mommy, there's a monster under the bed. I saw it. It had scary eyes and long teeth. I saw it, Mommy. It looked right at me. I'm scared." Her parents, though bewildered by her account, did their best to soothe her, assuring her that there was nothing to fear. With a mixture of curiosity and concern, they ventured back into the room, determined to calm their daughter's fears and unravel the inexplicable events that had unfolded in the room. Huddled in the corner, Oliver's fear reached an even greater crescendo as Emily's anguished scream pierced the air. The sudden terror that had overcome the child added an extra layer of dread to his already tense state. As Emily and her parents returned to the room, his trembling intensified, his eyes wide with sheer terror. Lily, Emily's mother, bent down and peered beneath the bed, her gaze sweeping across the shadows. But, to Oliver's immense relief, she found nothing out of the ordinary. Emily's parents did their best to console her, insisting that her imagination had conjured the frightening visage she believed she had seen. Despite their reassurances, Emily remained in a state of shock, her young mind grappling with the inexplicable, while Oliver continued to hide, unaware of the secret he harbored beneath the bed. Because of Emily's disturbing encounter, her parents' determination to make the house their new home began to waver. Ryan, the realtor, made every effort to convince them to buy the house, emphasizing the unparalleled value of the property they were considering. Yet, Emily's unwavering stubbornness prevailed. Her parents, unable to ignore their daughter's plea, reluctantly decided to abandon the idea of purchasing the house. Their search for a new home began anew. Unbeknownst to them, the dark secret of the house, personified by the trembling creature that dwelled beneath the bed, remained concealed, awaiting the arrival of new occupants and the inevitable revelation of its ominous existence. With the departure of Emily and her family, Oliver found himself returning to the solitude of his normal life, though haunted by the memory of that peculiar day. He couldn't fathom what had transpired, why he had escaped discovery when Lily had peered beneath the bed. The sense of impending doom that had gripped him during those tense moments remained etched in his memory. However, as time passed and the house stood empty, he realized that the intruders had not returned. Gratitude welled within him for this unexpected reprieve. But still he remained vigilant in the dark corner beneath the bed in his sanctuary. He resumed his familiar routine, once again finding solace in the obscurity of his hidden realm. Oliver's history within the house was shrouded in mystery. He had lived there for as long as he could remember. The fading memories of the elderly couple, who had once been the last residents, lingered like echoes in the old rooms. They had passed away peacefully, succumbing to old age, and their home had remained abandoned ever since. Oliver himself was born well after their passing. He had grown up in the empty house. The son of the elderly couple, burdened with the weight of familial history, had recently decided to sell the property and move to a distant country. It was during this transition that Emily's family arrived to inspect the house. Her father, Paul, moved through the rooms, unknowingly stepping into the domain where Oliver had found his refuge. 2 months elapsed since Emily's family had departed. The passage of time brought with it a new chapter in Oliver's secluded existence as another family moved into the old house. At first, Oliver couldn't help but be filled with fear and trepidation, his instincts urging him to hide from these new inhabitants. But, as days turned into weeks, a remarkable transformation began to unfold within him. Gradually, he realized that these newcomers were not the ominous figures he had initially perceived them to be. In the absence of any malevolent actions or intentions, Oliver's fear began to wane, replaced by a hesitant acceptance of the family that had taken up residence within the house's weathered walls. Oliver's uneasy truce with the new family faced a test when they decided to make changes to the room he had come to call his own. The anticipation of change filled him with unease as the old bed was wheeled out and a new one took its place. At that particular juncture, Oliver had found shelter beneath the wardrobe. It was not a good experience. To Oliver's surprise, however, the new bed provided an even cozier sanctuary compared to the previous one. Its structure created deeper shadows and offered better concealment. As days turned into weeks, Oliver's contentment grew, and the unease that had accompanied him gradually transformed into a newfound comfort. One night, the couple was laying in the comfort of their new bed. Their hushed conversation filled the room. Oliver, hidden in the shadows beneath the bed, had over time developed a rudimentary understanding of their spoken words. He listened intently, grasping fragments of their conversation, piece by piece. Then, in a moment of startling clarity, the man's voice pierced the darkness, laden with unease. "You know, I sometimes have this weird feeling. I feel like someone is listening to us," he admitted. His wife's laughter followed, a dismissal of her husband's unease. "You are imagining things," she reassured him, unaware of the eerie truth that lingered in the room. As the couple drifted off to sleep, their words echoed into the night. Only Oliver held the clandestine knowledge of his silent presence, a hidden witness to their intimate conversations. And so, the night fell into an uneasy stillness, leaving Oliver to keep his solitary vigil beneath the dark expanse of the bed, the keeper of the house's enigmatic mysteries.
You were listening to The Silent Observer. Were you ever scared of the monster under the bed? Have you had an unusual experience like Emily? Share in the comments. But remember, just like you are scared of the monster under the bed, maybe the monster is scared of you too. Subscribe to our channel for more amazing stories. See you in the next video. Good night.